Welcome to We Win News. What happens when unimaginable things happen in the sky? In this video, we face the suffering of aviation accidents that makes us difficult to breathe and tremble. Each story is a testament to the fragility of life and the recovery of human spirit. A small plane crashed in Pembroke Pines, Florida, USA, on July 13, 2025. A FedEx cargo plane flying from New Jersey to Indiana, USA, had to make an emergency landing when its engine caught fire after hitting a bird on the morning of March 1, 2025.
We've got 2 vectors, parallel runways, draft and seal. Lovely touchdown there by Arthur, our local pilot in the Yak 3.
The plane collided with a stationary vehicle while preparing to take off and broke its right wing.
He's okay, that's the main thing.
Arthur's getting out, folks, so let's give him a hand. Thank you.
The Ramstein air show disaster is considered the worst air disaster in history. During a flight by the Italian Fracchi Tricolore display team, several planes collided.
Any reason, emergency service only.
Arcanavia P-68 plane crash. Plane spins disoriented and falls debris. Kansas City Air Show biplane crashes onto runway at Wheeler Downtown Airport.
Totally out of control.
That's not good.
Ladies and gentlemen, we do have emergency personnel who are prepared for this.
Yes,
Shit, that's a crash.
F-117 stealth fighter crashed on September 14, 1997 in Essex, Maryland.
Stay where you are, folks. This is okay. Stay where you are. These are the things that children need to see right now. Go get them something to eat. Pick them up some sandwiches.
¿Para dónde? Muy tarde.
An aerobatic plane crashed during an air show. The plane burst into flames during the Good Neighbor Day air show at DeKalb Peachtree Airport.
Pero es que todas las cuadras creen que no pasa nada.
The plane crashed into the road, flying straight into a row of trees. After the collision, the plane could be seen damaged and smoking. The plane had an accident and could not take off. The helicopter's engine lost power due to fuel backflow, causing the engine to stall. The aircraft crashed into the ground, damaging the lower part of the frame, breaking the main rotor and damaging the tail.
Where's the rhino?
In the event of a plane crash into the sea, pilots should always pay attention to their altitude while performing a roll. Always check the altitude before performing the move. On July 24, 2021, the plane crashed after takeoff, hit the ground, and exploded. The accident occurred in a densely populated urban area of Panama City, where the helicopter crashed, creating a loud crash and causing traffic congestion on a busy street. Small plane crash on Highway 91 in Corona, Southern California. There were 2 people on board, both miraculously safe according to reports.
They just reopened LA County. Oh, plane crash! Right behind you.
Watch the stage, Primeer daar rechtvoor, daar is het blue flight through.
Oh shit.
As jy wil afbeweeg, hier's nog baie plek hier onder waar ons is.
The engine's off! Oh shit! Whoosh! No, no, no!
Shocking footage of biplane crash at Travis Air Show. Aircraft accidents can also occur during the process of extinguishing such a fire. Super Corsair plane crash. When the plane hit the ground, a huge explosion occurred. A Fisher Celebrity biplane crashed while landing at the 2014 Tayab Air Show in Victoria, Australia. The plane failed to land safely on the runway. The plane bounced several times. It then continued to hit the boundary fence at the end of the runway, causing the engine to be torn off its mount. Crystal Ascension from Mi-17 falling down Kedarnath slope.
Oh my God! Just a big pop and then it went down.
Camera catches Philadelphia plane crash. You can see it descend at a ridiculously steep angle, resulting explosion. Delta Airlines CRJ-900 aircraft involved in an incident flipped completely upside down.
Our plane crashed. It's upside down. Fire department's on site.
Initially, the aircraft landed safely on the grass. The helicopter suddenly took off. A small plane crashed at a Sacramento golf course, reportedly due to engine failure.
This US Army Guard Beechcraft King Air C-90 had 2 green lights on the gear. That's cool if you are a tail dragger, but being a tricycle landing gear aircraft, it's bad. The nose gear would not lock into the down position, so the fire crews were alerted. The pilot circled for about 30 minutes to burn off fuel and let the fire crews get into position. On February 24, 2003, a Czech Air Force Aero L-159A crashed during weapons trials involving the Plamen 20mm cannon pod. The accident occurred during a test flight aimed at evaluating the aircraft's compatibility with the Plamen gun pod. Plane crashed at Kandahar airfield in Afghanistan on May 15, 2009. The incident occurred during operations at the NATO-controlled base. Flight Lieutenant Martin Pert, the pilot of the aircraft, ejected to safety via his rocket-fired ejector seat once he had steered his Harrier past a civilian passenger aircraft, also on the runway. On May 3, 2009, during a fast taxi demonstration at Bruntingthorpe Aerodrome in Leicestershire, UK, a Handley Page Victor K-2 bomber unexpectedly became airborne. During this brief lapse, the 80-ton aircraft lifted off the runway, reaching an altitude of approximately 30 feet.
Should he be doing that?
The Bellew H-1 Iroquois Huey attempted to land but came in too hot, causing the tail to snap off, causing a hard impact that broke off the tail section upon touchdown. A Bell Long Ranger helicopter crashed while in the process of completing the installation of a Maxis transmitter tower in the Sri Damansara industrial area, Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, on 14 June 1996. Even though nearly 3 decades have passed, most Malaysians still cannot forget the incident in the state. On September 11, 1983, both wings at the Partenavie P-68, piloted by Whistle Winter, broke off due to excessive load, and the plane crashed into the ground at an airshow in Texas. A Ryanair aircraft experienced an extremely hard landing, described by passengers, observers as unusually forceful, causing the aircraft to jolt violently upon touchdown. In Russia, an L-1410 aircraft encountered challenging conditions that tested both the pilot's skill and the aircraft's performance as it carefully descended onto a runway. During an airshow in Canada, a helicopter was involved in a serious accident when it lost control. This sudden roll occurred at a low altitude, leaving insufficient time for recovery before the aircraft struck the ground. The plane was destroyed, but the pilot was safe. An Enstrom helicopter experienced a tail rotor failure during flight, causing a sudden loss of anti-torque control that forced the pilot to execute emergency procedures in an attempt to stabilize the aircraft. On February 1, 2022, a plane crashed at St. Barthélemy Airport. The island's notorious runway, which is known for its short length, steep approach, and limited margin for error, Ukraine Air Force MiG-29, piloted by the country's first female pilot, Victoria Mekotava, ran out of runway in Mirod airbase and damaged its wing. This is a twin-engine jet fighter aircraft designed in the Soviet Union. It entered service with the Soviet Air Forces in 1982. During the aerial performance, the Su-27 was performing a low-altitude maneuver when it lost control and crashed into a field at the Salgoreda Air Show in 1990. The cause of the crash was later attributed to a loss of situational awareness at low altitude, possibly aggravated by mechanical or control issues during a tight maneuver. No spectators were harmed, as the crash occurred slightly away from the main crowd area. On Nov 30, 2013, a Cessna 210 had to make an emergency landing without his rear landing gear down in Florence, Oregon. The local pilot did a hell of a job landing with the front gear locked down, stopping the engine before he was stopped, and only minimal damage to the plane's wingtip and right elevator.
Yeah.
A forklift was brought in, the plane lifted and the rear gear dropped. This was a maintenance flight and they had checked the gear before the flight several times, cycling the up and down, but they wouldn't come down for the landing of this flight. An aircraft made a very low landing approach at St. Bartholomew Airport, passing just a few feet above a nearby road.
Wow!
At the Slovak International Air Day in Bratislava in 1997, an incident occurred when a Ukrainian Air Force Sukhoi Su-27 fighter jet was forced to make an emergency landing without its landing gear deployed. The aircraft experienced a mechanical failure during a demonstration flight. Remarkably, the pilot safely guided the aircraft to the ground, skidding along the runway on its fuselage without causing a fire or explosion. On August 16, 2005, a Spanish Air Force helicopter crashed in the western mountains of Afghanistan. The cause of the crash was initially potential mechanical failure. A second Cougar helicopter flying nearby observed a column of black smoke rising from the crash site and made an emergency landing. On July 24, 1993, a pair of MiG-29 of the Russian Flight Research Institute took off in close formation to commence their flight display at the RAF Fairford International Air Tattoo. The display was going smoothly until the final maneuver, which was simultaneous loops, commenced from a long line astern prior to braking to the land. One aircraft impacted to the northeast of the airfield, 2,300 feet away from the crowd line, while the other one crashed on the perimeter fence. Both aircrafts became uncontrollable. Both pilots ejected successfully and landed uninjured. One of them was seen calmly lighting a cigarette afterwards. Was as an aircraft overruns the runway at St. Bartholomew Airport due to excess speed and insufficient stopping distance.
Dude, that guy's got to stop. Whoa! Crap.
After floating so much, was there any point where the pilot could have done something differently, or was he committed to landing with wheels touching the ground? What's your take? Let me know your opinion in the comment below. A Sikorsky helicopter, positioned on the deck of a ship and exposed to a massive crosswind, experienced a dramatic incident in which, with its engines off, rotor blades unsecured, and wingtips lifted by the wind, it began to rock dangerously. An F-18 Super Hornet performs a high-speed pass at Deke Slayton Airfest, La Crosse, Wisconsin. As a result, a Prandtl-Glauert condensation cloud forms around the jet. An emergency landing was carried out in an ASK-21 glider after the pilot neglected to properly lock the rear windshield prior to takeoff. But fortunately, luck was on his side as he managed to maintain control and land the glider safely without injury or damage. Kevin Eldredge, air race pilot at the Reno Air Races, came to win in 2010 in the Supersport class.
Okay, so this is getting at lap 1, right?
In his attempt to break John Sharp's qualifying record of 412 miles per hour, the turbulence and G's, air too much for the engine and the oil filter housing, broke off, dumping the oil, overspeeding the propeller, and then blowing a huge hole in the Thunderbolt Lycoming engine.
Well, so much for the MT truck. That was bad. Yeah, he's got white smoke.
This brief yet exhilarating clip showcases some of the most impressive and downright daring, crazy flying maneuvers, all captured during the Ardmore Air Show held in Auckland, New Zealand, back in March 1990, where pilots pushed their aircraft and abilities to the absolute limit for a thrilled crowd. A Twin Otter aircraft is captured, skillfully landing on deep snow and wind-sculpted drifts atop a frozen, ice-covered lake in the remote wilderness of northern Saskatchewan. Most aircraft use about 2/3 of the runway to take off, but this plane had other plans. This is an Ilyushin IL-76 freight aircraft taking off fully laden for an 11-hour flight, warm day, no wind. The pilot treated his plane like a fighter. He over-G'd the aircraft at a speed where his plane couldn't handle. Structural damage then occurred, ripping off both of his wings. Art Scholl Aerobatics represents the pinnacle of precision flying and showmanship, as the legendary pilot Art Scholl captivated audiences around the world with his breathtaking aerial maneuvers, flawless control, and unique ability to blend technical mastery with theatrical flair. On August 5, 2017, a United States Marine Corps MV-22 Osprey took off from the amphibious assault ship USS Bonhomme Richard and headed for the USS Green Bay as part of an exercise. On June 12, 2025, Air India flight AI-171, a Boeing 787, bound for London Gatwick, crashed into the Meghani Nagar residential area near Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel International Airport in Ahmedabad, India, just minutes after departing. The aircraft, carrying 244 occupants, 232 passengers and 12 crew, issued a mayday call shortly after takeoff, reached a maximum altitude of around 625 feet, then lost contact and plummeted into a nearby neighborhood, igniting a massive fireball and generating thick black smoke that was visible across the area. Emergency services were dispatched immediately with roads sealed off and green corridors established to facilitate relief operations. The North American XB-70 was an extraordinary and groundbreaking aircraft, designed during the Cold War era to cruise at speeds exceeding Mach 3 at altitudes above 70,000 feet, pushing the boundaries of aviation technology at the time. On June 11, 2017, in northeastern France, a vintage Spitfire flipped dramatically during its takeoff roll at an air show, ending up inverted just a few meters from the crowd. In the span of a few hours on June 2025, nearly a third of Moscow's strategic bomber fleet was destroyed or damaged, with cheaply made drones sneaking into Russian territory. On 22 March 2021, an aircraft carrying a senator and two others made a Forcebelly landing at Ji-Parana Aerodrome in Brazil after its landing gear failed to extend. Both the normal and emergency systems were inoperative, and the aircraft slid along the runway for approximately 300 meters before coming to a stop. A small plane made an emergency landing in Kandahar, Brazil, after an electrical failure. The incident occurred on a farm and all occupants are fine. Part of the fuselage of the plane was damaged, as well as the propellers. On 21 June 1997, during the Slovak International Air Display held at Bratislava Airport, a Russian Knight's Sukhoi Su-27 flanker arrived with its landing gear retracted and performed an emergency nose-wheel-up touchdown during its arrival sequence. Fortunately, touching down without injuries to the pilot, an incident that briefly closed the runway and left only minor damage to the aircraft. On August 2, 2023, a private seaplane crashed in Russia's northern Krasnoyarsk region near the banks of the Dudinka River. Responders extinguished the fire. On July 24, 1993, two Russian jets crashed at an air display in Gloucester. The single-seat MiG-29 fighters collided in front of a crowd of 250,000 people at Fairford, near Swindon. The arrival of the V-22 Osprey at Clove Lakes Park caused unexpected chaos as the aircraft's massive tilt rotors unleashed a torrent of wind, snapping tree branches, drawing the attention of onlookers and aviation enthusiasts. The Spitfire airplane executes a full 360-degree maneuver high in the sky, but as the pilot loses control mid-flight, the aircraft spirals downward uncontrollably and crashes violently into the ground, triggering a massive explosion. A Mi-26 military transport helicopter operated by the Border Service of the Federal Security Service of Russia collided with a lighting mast at Yakutsk Airport on July 27, 2023. A dramatic takeoff from Greece's Skiathos Airport, known for its extremely short runway and proximity to a public road just meters from the runway threshold, captivated startled tourists alike as a jet roared down the tarmac, buffeting onlookers standing behind the fence by intense jet blast. According to reports, the tail of the aircraft opened 30 minutes after takeoff. The band was returning from a show in São Luís, Brazil. The plane returned to Hugo da Cunha Machado Airport in an emergency landing. The crew and passengers were rescued. Footage showed the fall of a fire department helicopter in Vicente Pires, Brazil. The aircraft was headed to the courtyard of a college to respond to an incident. Fortunately, none of the occupants suffered serious injuries. The aircraft, frequently used for medical care, is about 12 years old. During a Russian air show, the Mi-8 helicopter pilots amused the crowd with a surprise. Instead of dropping the usual flares or supplies, they released a cascade of stuffed animals, turning a serious military demonstration into a light-hearted spectacle. The small plane that crashed into the pool of a resort on the shores of Lake Furnace, Brazil on February 20, 2021 presented mechanical failure shortly after taking off from an airport in the same region. It is possible to hear the engine choking and stopping working, with fright from the cameraman. The 3 crew members were rescued and were not seriously injured. On 21 October 2016, an Airbus cargo jet, flight from Sao Paulo, suffered a nose gear collapse during its landing rollout at Recife Guararapes Gilberto Freire International Airport, following a landing gear asymmetry caused by one engine advancing into reverse while the other remained at idle, which led the aircraft to veer off the runway, exit onto soft ground, and have its nose gear buckle. On 10 February 2025, a private twin commander made an emergency belly landing at Sorocaba State Airport without deploying its landing gear due to a malfunction. All 4 occupants aboard escaped without injury.
Ебать! Пиздец, развалился нахуй! Ебать! Пиздец!
On October 5, 1991, during deck trials aboard the Soviet aircraft carrier Admiral Gorshkov, test pilot attempted a vertical landing in the Yakovlev Yak-141. Due to a combination of strong crosswinds, the deck's limited area, and excessive descent speed, the undercarriage impacted the stern, rupturing a fuel tank and igniting a serious fire. Today, that same airframe is exhibited at the Yakovlev Museum, repaired in the 1992 olive grey livery with 141 markings. During the Hoover maneuver, one of the planes loses engine power and the pilot ejects midair just before the jet crashes. The crash was caused by engine airflow disruption, and exhaust from one plane was sucked into the other's intake. leading to catastrophic engine failure. Experience the adrenaline-pumping, gut-wrenching takeoff of the C-17 military transport in this incredible 2013 demonstration video, where the massive aircraft performs a seemingly vertical climb that defies expectations for such a heavy airfort. The V-22 Osprey's massive flight-adverse rotary tension causes the English eco-electric F-1 Lightning to break. Luckily, F-1 pilot who was completing his tethered in-flight training was unharmed. In a tense moment over the Baltic Sea, a Russian fighter jet executed a risky maneuver by flying dangerously close to a Swedish Saab JAS-39 Gripen during a routine NATO patrol. On June 1, 2008, during an airshow in Lake Bracciano, an Italian army helicopter was in the final stage of its display when a dramatic miscalculation occurred. As the aircraft performed a low-altitude feeler maneuver, it descended too steeply, struck the lake's surface with its fuselage and tail rotor.
Oddio! Oddio, raga.
The finish line is here. Don't forget to give us a like button and share your road encounters in the comments. And don't miss the video on the right side of the screen. See you soon.